ready when you are.
Okay. So today I'm going to be going in depth about what causes Alzheimer's disease, which multiple people is commonly known, and they don't really go into the cell communication part of it. Well, today that's what I'm going to do. Cells communicate with each other in order to effectively send signals throughout the body to get a response of whatever's needed. There are three types of cell communication signaling. Paracrine signaling acts on nearby target cells by secreting molecules of a local target cell, by secreting molecules of a local receptor, which is a short distance communication. And synaptic signaling is another short distance communication, which happens when an electric signal tips a target cell by neurotransmitters and along a synapse. And a synapse is a space between neurons where the neurotransmitters transfer. And endocrine signaling is a long distance communication, and it involves the release of hormones from one part of an organism to another. Okay. So this is how all that ties into Alzheimer's. So in this figure here, this would be the normal pathology that you all would have. And in someone with Alzheimer's disease, they would have a buildup of what's called a tau protein, which is called tau pathology, which disintegrates your neurons and what causes neurodegeneration, which is an umbrella term for when your neurons just don't function anymore and they disintegrate away. Well, when you get neurodegeneration, this is all happening in your mitochondria, and the mitochondria is in your hippocampus part of your brain, which is where the brain is like the part of the brain that needs for memories, which is why that's a leading cause of the normal first commonly known symptom of Alzheimer's disease is short-term memory loss. And when these neurons disintegrate, it increases the ROS, which is reactive oxygen species, and it throws off your chemical balance. And your body likes to stay in homeostasis. So when your body is not in homeostasis and it increases in the reactive oxygen species, it's going to cause synaptic failure. And synaptic failure leads to AD. And when you have AD, the common symptoms, memory loss, problem solving, get difficulties with that. You really can't perform by yourself anymore. And if it gets in rare cases, it can lead to death. And they also call it something else. Ms. Fortenberry was talking about the other day. I forgot the name of it, but it's commonly known in elderly couples. If all you know is to take care of your elderly couple and your spouse dies, you tend to shut down, lock yourself up in a dark room, and they start to forget because they're not learning and they're not functioning anymore as they should. So when they start closing themselves up like that, they start to forget, which causes death, forget, and stuff like that. So I have a video I can show you.
Alzheimer's disease, or AD, is a very common neurodegenerative disorder in which brain cells are progressively damaged and die, leading to loss of memory, thinking skills, and eventually all other brain functions. A brain consists of billions of neurons or nerve cells which communicate via chemical messages or neurotransmitters. This communication occurs in a space between neurons called a synapse. Neuron communication is essential to all brain activities. An Alzheimer's brain is characterized by presence of abnormal plaques and tangles. Plaques are clumps of a peptide known as beta amyloid. Beta amyloid derives from a larger membrane protein normally present on the surface of nerve cells. These clumps are toxic to nerve cells and may block cell-to-cell signaling at synapses. They are also believed to trigger inflammation responses that bring further damage to the brain tissue. Tangles are formations of a protein named tau. Tau protein's major function is to stabilize axonal microtubules, the tubular structures that run along axons of neurons and are responsible for intracellular transport. In AD patients, tau molecules are misfolded and clump into tangles. As a result, the microtubules are disintegrated and cellular transport is impaired. As the toxic deposits of plaques and tangles increase, neurons stop functioning, lose connections with each other, and die. The damage initially takes place in the hippocampus, the part of the brain that is essential in forming memories. That is why short-term memory loss is usually one of the first symptoms of Alzheimer's. Plaques and tangles tend to spread through the cortex in a predictable pattern as the disease progresses. New symptoms appear accordingly and in an order that corresponds to different stages of the disease. At the final stage, the brain shrinks dramatically and nearly all its functions are affected. Most people with Alzheimer's show first symptoms after the age of 65, while the process of neuron destruction has probably started many years earlier. For this form of late-onset AD, the cause remains largely unknown, but a combination of environmental and genetic factors is likely. Notably, a certain form of lipoprotein named apolipoprotein E is shown to increase susceptibility to the disease. For a small subset of AD cases, known as familial Alzheimer's disease, genetic factors have been identified. This rare form of AD is linked to a mutation in one of several genes involved in beta-amyloid production. For this group, the disease strikes earlier in life, commonly between 50 and 65 years of age, but can be earlier. Currently, there is no cure for Alzheimer's. Treatments aim to slow down the process of destruction and relieve symptoms to improve quality of life for patients and caregivers.
All right. Okay, you have anything else? Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit about it. Okay. I have a question. You know, old people just tend to forget stuff. You know, your grandma starts forgetting things, or even your parents start forgetting things. How do you know that someone who starts forgetting things are not just having symptoms of aging compared to maybe having Alzheimer's? How do you know they have Alzheimer's and they're not just getting old?
Well, they can go to checkups and always get tested for it. And also, they wouldn't just they have the normal normal symptoms of just forgetting stuff. They would also have trouble feeding themselves, remember to use in the bathroom, stuff like that.
Processes that they should know how to do. All right. So in your research, and you were doing a good job of it, just kind of real quickly for everybody, just in your own words, explain to us how this is a cell communication breakdown. What exactly is happening so that our neurons begin to die?
Okay. So the buildup of tau or calcium will build up on in the end of your neurons, and it blocks off that pathway. When it blocks off that pathway, calcium, tau builds up, and it causes neurodegeneration. Your neurons disintegrate, and when they disintegrate, it throws your body imbalances off.
Okay, and they talk about plaques and tangles a lot in the research. Can you just tell everybody what a plaque or a tangle is?
It's it really didn't go into depth about it, but I can say it's a buildup of something